Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the seventh edition. Wait, yeah, seventh? It's seventh episode, isn't it? Yeah,
Is it?
Yeah.
I think. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for seventh edition of Cinema Effect. Just had to make sure. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by. I'm definitely. I think we'll keep this to ourselves, but I'm definitely not going to use the nicknames you gave us last night, Jane. I'm joined by
Oh, what?
Hans Zimmer's.
I thought that was solid.
My fellow Hans Zimmer appreciated Jaden. No, they definitely weren't solid.
Good day anyway.
Thanks, and I'm joined by Paul Thomas Henderson's number one fanboy, Liam.
Hello.
I can't get over this nickname thing, dude. I put way too much stock in it at the start, to be honest, and now, yeah, I just never want to think about the whole nickname thing again. They're getting, yeah. Anyway,
Good choice.
We just need to move past it. I think it's a phase, and
Yeah.
As long as you two are both happy with your mediocre nicknames you've gotten, then I think we'll just move forward with those ones. This is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single week. The show posts every single Monday, and that's at 8 p.m. Australian time. And you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So please subscribe on all those things. Leave us a 5-star rating. It's greatly appreciated. And remember to submit your questions, thoughts, and or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section. We'll definitely be reading them out at the end of the show, as we always do. And our specific question of the week that we'll be reading out next week is going to be, as Jaden suggested, our favourite sequel. So please write in about your... God, that sounded desperate when I said that, didn't it? Please write in. Feel free to write in about what your favourite sequel is to any movie and why. And we'll be sure to answer that ourselves next week as well. So this week we're doing, as I mentioned at the end of last week's show, we're starting our kind of franchise marathon monthly thing, whatever you want to call it, where essentially the last episode of every single month of the show, we will be going through a franchise. So this being the last episode of April, for example, we're starting with The Matrix. Then the end of May, we'll go to The Matrix Reloaded, etc. And then we'll keep doing this, keep changing franchises till the end of time, basically. So isn't that great? And so we're starting with The Matrix this week. And Jane, you mentioned you'd never seen The Matrix before, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
What did you know about it, kind of?
I thought I knew a lot about it, but like everything I thought I knew was like gone within the first 20 minutes. Because
Really?
like it's such a famous film, and like I've seen so many scenes like in clips just everywhere, whether it's parody or like tributes or whatever. And they've like seeing those scenes, I thought I could piece together like a rough story or like a roughly what happens. But I was completely like off. Like I was really, really wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, that's really cool. And I like that a lot. But you, Fitzy, have you seen the movie? You've seen it once before. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I've seen it once. Yeah, I can't tell you when, but this is definitely my second time seeing it.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. This is my second time seeing it, and I'm looking forward to doing the sequels in the coming months, just because I've seen 2 long ago, and then I've never seen 3. So this is kind of I don't know, I feel like a cool franchise to start on for us. We haven't really got any experience with it, so that's cool. But anyway, who cares about that? The first Matrix film opened in the US on the 31st of March 1999. It was directed and written by Lana and Lily Wachowski. And something I didn't know was the fact that I always thought this was like an alias, like because I only saw the Wachowski brothers, but I knew they were both women, but they're actually transgender. Not that it's really relevant, but good for them. But then also, I didn't know that. I also didn't know that for the upcoming Matrix 4, that only Lana will be working on it. And so she's writing and directing that movie. How will that affect that movie? Who the hell knows? I've got no idea, but I'll throw it out there anyway. They're kind of a duo, so it's interesting that only one of them is doing it. The film stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, and, of course, got to give a shout-out to Joe Pantoliano. Leono? Fitzy, of course,
Ralph
of
Cifaretto.
Sopranos fame. Goddamn Ralphie, baby.
Yeah.
I have to give him a shout-out. But, of course, he's also in Memento with Carrie-Anne Moss, so there's a bit of a connection there in years to come for them as well, so that's cool. The film won 4 Oscars relating to its editing, sound, and visual effects. It had a budget of $63 million and a box office worldwide of $465 million. The genre is an action sci-fi film has a runtime of 2 hours and 16 minutes, and the synopsis finally is: a computer hacker learns from mysterious rebels about the true nature of his reality and his role in the war against its controllers. Pretty cool synopsis there. That's got to be a top synopsis that we've done so far. I like it. So we went over our kind of history with the Matrix, so that's cool. So then, Jane, being a first-time viewer, what did you think of the Matrix? Did you like it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was kind of blown away because I thought what would happen was that it'd be one of those films where it's, so talked about and so famous and so hyped that, you know, I'd kind of just watch it and be like, oh yeah, it's good, but it's not brilliant. But like, I understand like where all the praise came from, and like, yeah, it's a really enjoyable film.
Awesome. How about you, Fitzy?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I found it really great. Very cool aesthetic and soundtrack and concept. So yeah, I really loved it this time.
Yeah, the first time I saw it was years ago, and watching it this time, I really appreciated it. Honestly, in a way I didn't even expect to appreciate it. Like, the thing that stuck out to, in memory the first time was just its premise, this idea of this reality and that humans, it's not real and they're kind of, living in this fake world and all that shit. That was a concept that was just so foreign to me at the time. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that's kind of the main thing I took away from it the first time. Then this time, because just having that knowledge of the movie so ingrained in me, I really appreciated those other aspects of the movie, like you mentioned, Fitzy, about I really like the story and kind of, I'll get into it more obviously, but just the way it handles traditional storytelling with the hero's journey and all those kind of things. And I mean, the action sequences are pretty good across the board. And yeah, no, I think it's a really really great movie that still stands out, still has its own unique flair despite coming out over 20 years ago. Um, so yeah, no, I really like it. It definitely stands out amongst the crowd even still. So that's pretty cool. Um, I want to start off pretty broad, I guess. Is there, Liam? Is there one particular element of the movie at all, like literally anything, that stood out to you this time more than any other time, or more than last time, rather?
I don't know. The soundtrack I think is very stood out to me a lot. The whole green and blue kind of aesthetic I thought was really cool, and like everything was just kind of in tune that way. Everything kind of lent itself to a cool kind of vibe. The soundtrack, the aesthetic, the obviously the fact that these guys are like punks and all that.
Yeah, I think the color palette is awesome, and um, no, I love just the fact that it's so consistent in its visual style of kind of, yeah, you have the kind of the filters, the very green feeling of the Matrix, and then the different kind of purpley vibes of the outside world's really cool. Oh, hey, while I'm talking about that, actually, I've got trivia about that. All scenes that take place within the Matrix have a green tint as if watching them through a computer monitor, while scenes in the real world have a blue tint. Oh, I said purple, blue. Blue was also used at a minimum in the Matrix scenes since the directors thought blue was more of a real world color. The fight scene between Morpheus and Neo, which is neither in the real world nor in the Matrix, is tinted yellow. And no, I really like that attention to detail in the movie, and it really works like subconsciously even. Where, like, sure, I noticed it this time, but I feel like it just really clicks with your brain that kind of connection, that visual storytelling really works with that separation between the worlds. Um, because I rewatched some scenes this morning, and yeah, and I was immediately kind of taken back into that style, into that world that they're trying to set up with the colors, and no, I think they did a really really good job about it from a visual sense. Um, but then going to the score, Jen, how did you feel about the score of this movie?
Um, I actually didn't love it. I mean, I understand like it fits, and like I think it suits the movie well. But I mean, as an individual score, can't really get behind it too much. I think does it remind you of the Run Lola Run score,
That's a really funny comparison.
right?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah, I think it might because of maybe because of that connection. I just couldn't get into it. Yeah, I don't know. Like if it's to suit the film well, and it all clicks in. But like as an individual piece, I don't love it.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I feel like so. Fitzy, you really liked it. Is that correct? Just to make sure.
I don't know if I would like listen to it by itself, but Well, maybe
No.
like particularly the main theme. I really do love the main theme, but I just think the whole like the whole soundtrack, as Jaden said, really fits the tone, and like in the movie, it really does enhance the vibes. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I'm sort of maybe in the middle of you both, where feel like the soundtrack has its moments and the music has its moments. Particularly in an action sequence I love, probably my favorite one in the movie is the hotel lobby shootout, and I feel like it works awesome there.
Mm.
But then there's other moments where there's other kind of faster paced things happening, like for example the opening action sequence, which I think is kind of forgettable. And the music doesn't really do anything for me there, and so I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a mix of um, this weird kind of combination of the music works sometimes for me and other times not. I do really like the Rage Against the Machine music. I think it is at the end. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Uh, I really enjoy that. So yeah, no. Anyway, yeah, there are parts of it where I feel like it works, and other parts where I feel like it doesn't.
I feel like they should have used the main theme more. Like in that hotel lobby thing, I thought they were going to use it's called Club to Death, and they used it when Neo is like walking down the street and he sees the woman in red. So
Oh right, okay, I see. I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah, I
I
didn't know
really
what you
love
meant.
that
Yeah,
song. I hope they repeated it, but they didn't. But
Yeah.
yeah, I still really like the soundtrack.
Similar to like how you appreciate like the Rage Against at the end, they use Massive Attack earlier in the film when they're introducing Neo, and like I think like that's a really like I don't know. I think that fits really well. And I mean, Dissolved Girl is such a grungy and like dirty song. It really fits the setting well.
Mm.
So yeah, I think the songs that they chose to use work well, but I think the soundtrack, I don't know, it falters at parts.
yeah, I'm 100% with you. Couldn't have said it any better. So Fitzy, then for you, do you because this movie I think is kind of maybe I'm mistaken. I feel like this movie is super high regarded, well regarded in highly regarded. I was trying to say in kind of action circles as a great action movie, but obviously it has a lot of depth, kind of philosophically as well. Does do you really think it stands out as more than an action movie, or do you see it more in the vein of just a really good action movie?
I'm not sure. Well, I think it's a bit of both. I guess really great action movie and also something that is interesting. You know, interesting concept and aesthetic and stuff. So
The action in the movie, I feel like a lot of it's really good, and a lot of it's kind of doesn't do much for me anymore. In this kind of we're so spoilt these days, with action films, and I just think that maybe for someone at the time, I can see them watching this and just thinking the entire thing, like all the action sequences were phenomenal. Whereas I do feel like there are standouts. I really love the hotel lobby shootout. I love all the gymnastic shit going on there, and the cartwheels and the running off the walls, and that all still looks really good. All that wire work is fantastic. But then there are other parts, like I mentioned the opening scene that doesn't do much for me. Like the CG there isn't great.
that doesn't last too long though.
I don't know. I feel like as a way to kind of first impression of the film gives us an action set piece right at the start. It's not overly interesting. But trivia again, the opening action scene took 6 months of training and 4 days to shoot. And with that in mind, like that's kind of that's a lot of work. It doesn't really feel like it, really. It feels like it should be better than it is as a result of that. But I don't know.
You mentioned the wire work before, and like I can't believe how many like people were injured in the film just regarding like stunts and like with like when when characters get thrown into walls or like onto the roof or whatever. Like I was reading like
Yeah.
the stuntmen and like the actors will like break ribs and like ankle injuries and neck injuries and shit like that. I was like, I mean surely you'd think it'd be a bit safer than that. You can't risk all your actors getting damaged at the one time. So I don't know. That was something that I thought was a bit dodge.
Absolutely, that seems sketchy. I do have here. I didn't know about all the other stuntmen and everything, but Carrie Ann Moss twisted her ankle while shooting one of her scenes, but decided not to tell anyone until after filming, so they wouldn't recast her. That's like not not the best kind of film set environment. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know because I think was it Keanu had like a fusion like of two of his discs in his back or something like that. So he couldn't like use his legs properly for like some of the fight sequences and stuff. And like
Yeah,
Hugo Weaving, he had a big problem as well. I think it was with he sprained or he broke something as well. so they had to delay his fight scenes to the end of the production. And like it seems like that was like a reoccurring thing throughout the making.
But sticking with action just for a little bit longer, the part when they go to towards the end when they kind of rescue Morpheus and there's the helicopter sequence. That sequence with the helicopter doesn't really do anything for me. But then it transitions right into the train sequence, in the subway or whatever, and that does. I think that's a great scene with the kind of they got the wire work in there again. Hugo Weaving's awesome. He's Hugo Weaving. Shout out to the whole movie. He's great. But he's great in that scene too. So yeah, it's a story for me of some of the action set pieces working, some of them not. Just kind of a weird combination, I guess.
I thought the helicopter was pretty cool.
You thought it was cool, yeah?
Yeah, just like a first time viewing. Especially when it smacks into the building and like, you see the rippling of the glass. I thought that was pretty sick.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, no, I do like that. There are cool visual touches like that for sure.
Personally, I liked most of the action scenes, I guess. There was no real difference between those two for me, but
my only disappointment with the action was that you see a drunken fighting program getting uploaded to Neo, but he never uses it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I really wanted to see that.
Yeah.
Do you then, Fitzy? You mentioned how they're kind of similar to you. Do you have a standout action sequence then?
I actually think the helicopter and the rooftop actions at the end
really
was
cool.
some of the best. Yeah, because like you kind of see Morpheus dodge the bullets for the first time, and you got the cool slow-mos happening there, and I don't know when Morpheus and Neo jump to each other. I think that's really great.
I mean, good time to mention all those 360 camera shots. They're just awesome. I can imagine anyone like they're such an iconic part of kind of pop culture, that technique and what they do in these scenes in this movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jane. How they did it was, didn't they like set up? Oh, you might know actually. You might not know. You only watched the movie yesterday, but when they set up, I believe they set up like it's like shitloads of cameras around them, and that's like anyway. That's like super wild. I can't believe that they that's just like super innovative kind of idea, for them to kind of pull off, and it looks really good still the way, and
I thought like that 360 slow-mo type stuff, like that was like the one thing that I wasn't like 100% on, because like I think it fits with the film once again, but like just as a viewer, it's something that feels a bit I don't know, tacky, I guess. I think it suits in the film. Like it's better than Zack Snyder slowing down 365 frames or whatever, however many times he does it. But I mean, like, so it fits, but like it still draws me out a bit, just because like it does feel that little bit unprofessional, I guess. Not unprofessional, sorry, tacky, I guess we'll stick with
a bit like
a bit
gimmicky,
cheaper,
you reckon?
a bit cheaper,
Right.
Although I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it costs a lot to like you actually record and edit those scenes, but like it has that. It doesn't have the same finish, I feel, as the rest of the film does.
I don't know. I think the fact that it kind of embraces the tackiness fully, and also the fact that in some of those like those 360 kind of slow motion scenes, I guess the fact that they use sparingly, it kind of adds to the I don't know, my enjoyment from them. But also like just the fact that this movie was pretty much the first to do it, and do it, like to this extent, and to be this innovative to do it, it kind of makes me give it more credit. But
I mean, everyone would identify those shots with these movies, right? I don't think I've never seen any other movie do it. I'm sure they have, but in terms of the story, though, this is something going in I didn't expect to like nearly as much as I did, and it really is because at the end of the day, this is such a straightforward kind of narrative in terms of what Neo goes through as the main protagonist, and his kind of growth as a character. It's really just the hero's journey in its simplest, purest form, which I love, and I think it's done. I don't think I've really seen it done better in a film than in this movie, self-contained. It's just every beat works. You kind of he has a ton of character moments. I think the only real issue with it might be just the amount of exposition at the start, but even that doesn't really bother me that much. Yeah, no, I think there are a ton of really cool moments with him. We meet him and he's this kind of seemingly this underground kind of criminal hacker of some kind, and he's obviously lost in the world. He works in the most generic looking office building ever, which is great. And and we have these moments with him with Morpheus, these conversations, and then obviously when he visits the Oracle and so on. Like I really like that progression that we get for Neo, leading all the way up till obviously the final sequence when he just completely overpowers everyone, and then when he flies right up in the final shot. I think that's really cool. That kind of ascension of kind of understanding for him, I guess. But I guess what all I'm getting at is that Neo's arc stood out to me in the movie as the primary story aspect.
I agree. I think the meeting with the Oracle and how she kind of places doubt within his mind that he has to overcome kind of adds to that hero's journey
Yeah,
story there.
yeah.
But yeah.
No, absolutely. I love the fact that he's constantly told that he's the one, that he's the hero that's going to save everyone. Pretty tropey and straightforward stuff. But then how he's the Oracle, is built up as this figure, and he goes and visits her. And I love that whole sequence when he visits her, because then he talks to the little girl about the spoon and bending the spoon, and he, kind of all those themes of kind of greater understanding of kind of breaking the boundaries of the rules of the Matrix, and all that stuff's really cool. And then the Oracle obviously tells him that he's not the one, and that kind of in the end is the thing that kind of pushes him to actually be the one. I don't know. I think that's all really cool storytelling.
I like what was said from the kid about the spoon, but like something that really distracted me was the kid's Australian accent in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
scene. I was like a bit out of place.
No, I agree with you on that. The reason for that is that they filmed a ton of the film in Sydney, and trivia time: the filming of the helicopter scene nearly caused the film to be shut down because they flew the helicopter through restricted Sydney airspace. Laws in New South Wales, Australia, I should be able to pronounce our own state, were changed to allow filming to proceed. So there you go. That's a little fun fact for the action sequence there.
Are we in New South Wales, are we?
Oh no, I just meant it like an Australian state, but no, we're not in New South
okay.
Wales. Thanks for pointing that out. Thank God. But yeah, no, I do agree with you though. That was kind of funny. But did you like the actual kind of like what the conversation was getting at though with the spoon?
Yeah.
Well, are there any characters that stand out to you, Jane, or any aspects of the story, like we were mentioning, that kind of I don't know, that stood out to you or surprised you?
There's abundant evidence in the film that that it's kind of meant to replicate biblical stories of like Jesus and shit, whatever.
Yeah.
And that character of was it Cypher that betrayed him? Was that the character?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like how he kind of played that Judas role. I really enjoyed that.
I really like it. I really like the Cypher character as well.
Yeah, I thought that was well executed in the way it was. I don't know, because you understand his motivations in betraying them. I mean, like, you have to think, waking up in a post-apocalyptic world, would you want to be the one to fight against a seemingly endless army? I mean, the director said at the time of making they would have both taken the blue pill. So I mean, it makes his betrayal understandable, I think.
Definitely. And I love how they use, that character as, what is on paper, or I guess on the surface, just very much a straightforward plot point of just, oh yeah, this dude betrays them, cool. But how it is very much rooted in very valid philosophical kind of perspectives. Because to be honest, I think I'd take the blue pill as well. And I do love that shot. It's very quick of kind of when Neo has to choose between the pills, and he's kind of looking in Morpheus' sunglasses, and you see one pill in one eye and then other pill in the other. I think that's a really cool shot. But yeah, no, I like how the film deals with obviously reality and all those kind of things. Pretty straightforward. But then how it deals with how we kind of respond to it as well. If we want to be in this real world, I personally wouldn't. Seeing how bloody shit it is out there. And I love the whole backstory of the kind of how the apocalypse came about, because I don't know, just the idea that these they're aliens, right? They're like machine aliens.
No, it's just AI.
Oh, it is. That's right. Sorry, you're right. They're AI. Yeah, because they got the like weird tentacle things. But yeah, the AI, how the humans think, oh, we'll block out the sun, that'll do them, and then that really only ends up screwing them over more. I really like that. It's cool. But yeah, God, I wouldn't want to wake up in that world. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think I've ever seen like ignorance of bliss so appropriately applied to in a film.
No, no, definitely not. Yeah, and like you said, you totally understand that character's perspective.
Yeah, and shout out to Joe. What's Joe Pantoliano? Is that it? His acting, feels totally different from Ralphie, even though they're both
It really does.
both kind of tough guys. They're still very, very different.
And then even like just speaking on him for a second, like even then in Memento, he feels quite different too. That's the only three things I've seen him in, but he's good. He's good. I guess going back to kind of the start in some way, how do you guys respond to the premise in general with the whole, this idea of us being plugged into, we're in the real world, but we're plugged into this matrix? And because a part of it that I really liked, and just little details I never would have noticed when I was younger, just, how deja vu is explained kind of in it, I think is really cool. It's very, brief, but it also services the plot in a cool way as well. And then coupled in with kind of, at the start, Neo's kind of dreaming and waking and doesn't know if he's, what reality he's in. I think that all that stuff really kind of fits together in a cool way. I found so the movie goes for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I thought it was really well paced. So did you guys feel it kind of went into any lull at any point? Because I didn't.
Yeah, no. I mean the I don't know. I think maybe the first 20-30 minutes is kind of slow, but apart from that.
Yeah, I don't think it exactly lulls or has like any slow points, but um, I think it could have benefited from being like, I don't know, 5 minutes shorter. Had they cut a shot or two or a scene from here or there, I think the film could have benefited overall because it feels that little bit too long for me. Um, yeah, whether it be in the real world or in the Matrix scenes, I'm not too sure. It's probably the real world scenes. I feel like they're the weaker of the two. Um, but cutting a few minutes, I think, could have benefited a bit.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The real world scenes, they don't all work for me great. And then, I mean, especially the kind of parallel scenes to when Neo's fighting Agent Smith at the end is when we get Morpheus in his crew and his ship, and we get the really bad CG like AI kind of outside the ship and shit. That I could have definitely gone with less of that personally. Because that was like there were things in the movie visually that don't hold up great, but that was the one bit that actually looked bad.
Yeah, I didn't think the CG was too bad. I mean, definitely dated, but I wouldn't say bad.
Yeah, it's not Phantom Menace bad, but
It all comes back to the Phantom Menace. I mean, so don't get me wrong. When I say bad, all I mean is really dated. That's all I mean. I'm sure at the time it looks great. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I want to appreciate, of course, Lawrence Fishburne for a second because, and specifically because in this movie, he kind of is the mentor figure, the leader of this kind of, little rebel group we have. But he's terrific in the movie, and a bit of trivia linking into what I mentioned earlier about the exposition. In the first 45 minutes of the movie, Neo has 80 lines. 44 of these lines are questions, just over half of his total dialogue, averaging at roughly one question per minute. So that there's obviously in that first half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, there's a ton of exposition. But I guess I just want to shout out Lawrence Fishburne because I feel like I really don't care, to be honest. It's totally fine. I'm hanging on every word he says. He delivers it super well. And I feel like it's an interesting case where the exposition, like I feel like we're kind of trained to just say exposition, that's bad. But I feel like all the exposition is actually interesting. Like I
Yeah.
actually want to find out more about
Yeah.
how this works, how this world is. So yeah, I mean, that's cool. I appreciate the exposition in this movie, so I didn't think I'd be saying that, but there you go. Another trivia: Lawrence Fishburne also stated that once he read the script, he didn't understand why other people found it so confusing. Because that's another thing. The studio insisted on there being a lot of explanatory dialogue, like I just mentioned. The studio kind of pushed a lot of that in there because apparently at the time, no one understood the script or whatever. But Lawrence Fishburne, because he's an absolute G, he did not understand why people found it so confusing. However, he had a doubt if the movie would ever be made because it was so smart. So good for Lawrence Fishburne. He knew what he was making here. But I don't really, unless it was, the explanatory dialogue did actually help the movie in some way, who knows? Because I don't know what the first draft was like or anything. But I don't feel like anything in the movie is that confusing.
No, and that's something that hit me as like a first time viewer because I've always heard, not always, but like I've quite often heard people say, "Oh, it's a confusing movie. I never really understood this." But I mean, everything's rather straightforward, and I think the expository dialogue does do a lot to help that. But
Yeah.
yeah, confusing. I don't. I'm not too sure how people interpret it as confusing.
Maybe it is just a case of, people reading the scripts at the time, Hollywood executives, whoever they are, I don't know, but whoever was reading them at the time. Maybe it's just a case of them, kind of having no, um, philosophical understanding or a mind of any sense. So they just kind of maybe just the premise to them, the idea that we're not living, that our world isn't reality. Maybe that idea is just already like bewildering enough for them or something, because that's all I can really see it being. Outside of that, it's all pretty straightforward. I think the movie communicates it well. Like they literally, they do a good job of when Keanu wakes up for the first time and he's in his little pod and everything. I think that's pretty, good visual storytelling and very obvious of, okay, everyone else around him's plugged in as well. We're all plugged in. Pretty straightforward.
Mm.
Another iconic aspect of the movie is, of course, the outfits that the characters wear, the trench coats, the sunglasses, and it's just so cool. That's all it is. That's all that needs to describe it. It's just cool. It's badass. Do you guys think it's as cool as I do? Because I think it's very cool.
Yeah, I like how the costume designers they made the costumes as cheap as they possibly could. But yeah, I reckon you'd find replicas like asking for like $300 for the same coat or outfit or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I reckon you're right about that. Imagine just seeing someone like walking around in those outfits, on the street.
I have to question
reckon
whether we're living in the real world.
That's right.
My major complaint comes not necessarily with the film, but it's the fact that it was shot in Australia. It just really annoys me that Australia is used as a cheap whore for the film industry. How many major productions come down here to shoot in our scenery or at our studios, and we get no acknowledgement of ever existing. I mean, the only reason they came down to Sydney was to cut the budget by a third, 60 million as opposed to 180. And the fact that there's no acknowledgement of, I know the city is meant to remain a bit ambiguous for a reason, but I would have appreciated for us down here getting a shout out, because I mean it's the same story with a lot of films. Thor Ragnarok was shot here, Alien Covenant was shot here. Sorry about that background noise. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the way the film industry uses Australia, and that's a major gripe I have with this film.
When you say that, because I don't disagree with you, because it's the proof's in the pudding that this happens, obviously. But do you mean that you'd wish that the movies would, within the narratives themselves, acknowledge where they are? Like, do you wish that Australia was a more common setting in movies?
Yeah, whether it be as a setting or whether our film industry benefits from it somehow. Because I mean, our industry down here is abysmal. I mean, we put out 10 films a year, and only 2 of them are decent. If there's some
Red Dog 68,
yeah, I'm sure if the production's down here, it's a majority Australian crew working on it, so good job of them. But if the production being here had some lasting effects on our industry, or if they had some acknowledgement for of Australia in the film or something like that, it just needs something more. You can't just come down here and then just piss off and make your film.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I think in the industry, the way I understand it anyway, people don't really appreciate that or acknowledge anything about that at all. So yeah, rep us a bit better, Hollywood, please. I'm with you.
That's why I appreciate Ben Mendelsohn. He's stuck around here for
sure.
A good chunk of his career repping Australia before he went overseas. But and that's what I feel we need more of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's awesome. Absolutely. And I love, completely random, but I love how in Rogue One he basically is just using an exaggerated Australian accent. That's awesome. Oh, I actually realised we haven't actually touched on Keanu Reeves himself as the main protagonist of this movie, because I feel like he's really, I actually think he's really good in the movie, but he's kind of got this weird, he's kind of goofy in the movie, and he's got this, he's charming, he's got this interesting kind of vibe about him, but I think it works in a really interesting way. Like, obviously, we all look at when he says whoa, can you try and replicate that for me, Liam?
Whoa.
Thank you very much. I don't know, how do you guys feel about Keanu in the lead role?
At the start, I was a bit worried because, when he first opens the door, he's kind of just delivering, one word. He's like, yeah, or okay. And I was that's a bit John Wickish. And I hope he doesn't I hope it's not too much like that, where it's just him delivering one line. I like John Wick for that reason, because it's cool and nonchalant. But I don't want that in this film, and I'm glad that that was quickly abandoned. He did have some fuller line. He did have some fuller dialogue and stuff. So I don't really have any complaints with Keanu.
Yeah, I felt he was a bit goofy in that interrogation scene and some others.
Oh yeah,
but
that's right.
apart from that, he's really great in the movie. He really fits the role.
Yeah, and I think that the goofy nature of the performance does stand out amongst just other when you think about iconic kind of uh, action heroes or movie heroes. One thing I don't know, you probably didn't know this either, Jane. I certainly didn't before I watched it this time. But the super random, but the guns, lots of guns line. I didn't realize when that's in John Wick Chapter 3, it comes from this movie.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize either. When I saw it, I was like, oh, I was like, but yeah, it was a cute little connection. It was kind of like that Leo DiCaprio meme where he's pointing at the TV. I was like, hey.
That's exactly what it was like. Actually, I was like, yeah. Hey, I mean, we already shouted out Agent Smith, Hugo Weaving, just great. The kind of is the American accent he does here is like super kind of creepy. It's got this cool vibe to it. I really like the way he says, oh god, am I going to try this, Mr. Anderson? Oh, that was horrific. But you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah,
Mr. Anderson.
I didn't like it at the start. I thought at the start I felt it a bit weird, but and it seemed kind of forced. But like as the movie went on, I kind of grew to like it. I think it seemed to suit him more and more, and especially like when you think like he's a program, so I kind of like put it like he's programmed to like think and speak like a human. So like when it has that weird edge to it, it's kind of just a fault on him and his programming. So yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. And I like the agents as a villain. I guess they're villains, whatever. I think they're really cool as antagonists. I know the way they wear their suits and shit, and they kind of just all look very similar, and it's kind of that cool. I guess a little bit, playing into the themes of the movie a little bit, how they kind of tie into the fact that obviously Neo works at this generic ass office, and they all kind of look like generic dudes as well. It's kind of that force of conformity, I guess, fighting against like these abstract outfits and shit. I don't know. It's pretty cool. It's cool costume design.
I thought one kind of weak part of the movie was the kind of love plot between Neo and what's the female character's name? Trinity. That just kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, but that was my one problem.
Yeah. I don't. It doesn't bother me, but I know I don't disagree with you. I know what you mean. It does kind of feel like, I don't know. Outside of, I know it plays into kind of what the Oracle's prophecy and all that, so that's cool, I guess. But in terms of their relationship in the movie, I don't really know what they went through or any kind of connection they have that really warrants it, if you know what I mean.
I mean, I think it does still kind of add to the whole like tacky thing it's going for, but apart from that, it just kind of stands out.
I got that Michael Hutchins was cast in the main role, but then he committed suicide 3 days later, which
oh shit, really?
Absolutely sucked. And like, I didn't realize that Hutchins was an actor. I mean, I only ever knew him for his music. So I'm like, I didn't see what role he was cast in. It never specified. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see how he would have done in this film, and like what role they could have possibly given him.
Hang on, was he? Am I tripping? Was he Australian?
Yeah, he's the lead singer of
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Oh yeah. So wait, he actually was. Wait, that's weird. He was up for like a lead role in a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, he was actually cast. Like he was given the role.
That's weird.
And then, 3 days later, gone.
Jesus. Oh, that's a bit of a somber note to kind of transition into there. Thanks, Jane. But no, that's weird. That's all right. That's weird. Oh god. Well, rest in peace, I guess. Oh.
Continuing with casting, I've also got that Will Smith was offered Neo, and I mean, God, would have hated that.
And then didn't he choose, like, he wanted to do Wild Wild West instead?
Yeah. Could you imagine turning this down for Wild Wild West?
Well, hey, I mean, it worked out better for us, I think.
Yeah.
So that's all right. We should have put that as a part of our Western little marathon.
Yeah, no.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not sure if it was just on my end, if it was a problem, but was there a high-pitched, like, frequency throughout the interview between agents and Keanu? Because I couldn't figure out if that was just something from, like, my speakers or whether that was actually, like, something implemented in the scene.
Shit. Sure. I don't recall it. Did you get that, Fitzy? I don't think I did.
Not sure.
Speaking of that scene though, how creepy is that bloody bug thing? Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Not a fan of that at all.
Yeah, it's got like horror kind of tones at points. Like when Neo wakes up sees all the people, stacked in the big, in the
Oh
dark
yeah,
sky and stuff. All the
yeah, that
red.
was creepy.
So is the atmosphere still like can you breathe or can you not? In like
I mean,
you know
I guess you can because he does, right? Doesn't he?
yeah, and that's what I was thinking. But like if they scorch the earth and there's no trees, I mean like they shouldn't be able to really exist.
Plot hole. Or maybe
Mm,
we'll. Hey, mate. I mean, we've still got the sequels to come. Get excited for those. Maybe we'll get an explanation.
mm,
Because we know that, of course, from this movie that there is a last remaining human city. So, hey, how do they breathe?
That's something I didn't actually like. Going into this blind. I thought that it'd be all. I thought it'd be a story all wrapped up neatly by the end, and I thought that the sequels were just not cash grabs necessarily, but like I just thought they were add-ons. I didn't realize it was actually like a planned trilogy. So like
Mm.
I
Oh,
was
really?
like it makes sense to me now because I mean like it's a lot to fit. It'd be way too much to fit into one film. But have because I didn't know what the story was, I just assumed that this was just a tight bundle, and then a few throwaways.
Oh well, no, I'm surprised you say that because I kind of feel like it is that. I feel like it. I feel like the story is pretty self-contained, and I do think, having only seen the second one, I do kind of feel like they're add-ons.
All
Really?
I
right.
don't know.
Did,
Did you from this movie not get that vibe at all though?
well, no, I did get that vibe because I mean, like, it does give you an ending, and that's rather satisfying. But I read the synopsis for the next film, and I mean, it pretty much is like it is a sequel, and it seems like it was intentional to be. There was always going to be
Yeah.
leading into something else.
Yeah, I think the fact that you have like Zion in the movie, it's not really gone into depth or explored, kind of lends to the point that it was a planned trilogy.
Well, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you guys say that though. I don't know. I think the fact that there's a 4 year break between this movie and the next one, and the fact that then those two next movies were shot at the same time and released in the same year, I think that, like, sure, Zion as a concept, might have been something they could have always fleshed out in a sequel that they had in their brain, but I don't really think it was a planned trilogy or anything necessarily because I think Zion Wax is just like a kind of a MacGuffin in itself, with the agents needing to get the passcode to it. All right, so let's give our score for The Matrix out of 10. I'll start. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a great movie. I was surprised how much I liked it. There are still little bits and pieces that don't hit home fully for me. Some shoddy visual effects at times. Not all the action sequences totally hold up for me. And the score is a little underwhelming at points as well. But overall, no, I think it's a really great movie. And I think, I think you could recommend it to anyone. I think everyone should watch it, for sure, because of its cool story elements and unique visual style, I guess. So, yeah. How about you, Jan?
Yeah, I'm also giving it an 8. Part of me thinks I should give it higher because I don't really have any real quarrels with it. I mean, it's minor things, stuff like similar to stuff you've mentioned that
Mm.
holds it back from at least one point. But like for me personally, like what makes a film a 9 or a 10, and it has to have that kind of like impact and like this lasting profound feeling on me, and I didn't
Yeah.
really get that. So everything about it is great, apart from it didn't leave that feeling on me. So I can't give it that 9. So I'm gonna have to keep it with an 8.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm the same. Where a 9 or a 10, like for me personally, I feel like that's less about what a movie lacks and more about what it doesn't have. Oh, well, hang on, I was about to. That
Wait
sentence
a
makes
second.
no sense. But you know what I'm trying to say. I'm agreeing
Yeah,
with you. That
yeah,
I feel like a movie has to have that something extra. Even if what it does have is totally fine. Or
yeah.
totally perfect. Yeah. How about you, Fitzy?
I actually finished it today. It's funny, but I don't know. I'm torn between a 4 and a 4.5 out of 5. Um,
Oh, okay.
oh,
Our
sorry.
review system has always been out of a 10, and I love how you just throw it, a 4.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
sorry.
what?
Yeah, using that, but I don't know. It's like an 8.
8.25.
Yeah,
Yeah.
8.31.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5, just because
Just changing the review scale. Go for it.
just because, yeah, I don't know. I think the action scenes are still brilliant, still hold up. It's got so many innovative shots, and it was a very innovative and game-changing movie in itself. But there's the actual visual flares and the different aesthetic flares in the movie are really special and give a special feel and tone to the movie. Yeah, I think there are a few movies where a world and concept feels so real and fleshed out, like Blade Runner and Blade Runner and 2049 and the Star Wars universe, and this is definitely one of those worlds that feels very fleshed out in this first movie. So very cool. 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5. Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to come in next week and do it out of 15 just for fun.
Yeah, thematically, it deals with deals very well with control and freedom versus the whole ignorance is bliss idea.
Yeah.
And the way it does that is through the point of view of characters. It just doesn't explain to us. Is this better or is this better? You kind of have the Ralphie. What's his name?
Just go with Ralphie.
Cypher. That's right. He is very convinced in this kind of ignorance is bliss attitude, and you can kind of see it in his character, and you can see why he would believe that. But at the same time, you can also see, Morpheus's faith in the truth. So it's very interesting, and I think it's interesting because, it's presented from the perspective of the characters so well. It's not just giving us this vague concept; it's presenting it through characters. But yeah.
That's the Matrix done. How about that? So our Matrix journey will continue in, I don't know, a month's time, 4 weeks' time, whatever it is, the last episode of May. So get hyped if you possibly can. Let's get into our news chat segment. And I've actually got a fair few stories this week. So I don't know how fast we'll go through and whatever, however long it takes doesn't matter. The first one is that most appeals to me and probably to Jaden as well, I assume, is the fact that Warner Brothers and Christopher Nolan are very much sticking to their July release date for Tenet. I was about to say Inception or something for Tenet, and they're very much saying that as long as theaters are open, if theaters, and I presume if there's 3 theaters open, that's not going to be enough. But if there's a decent, sizable amount of theaters open around the world, that they're going forward with July no matter what, and I'm surprised to hear this. I think that means that if they do push it, they're going to be waiting till the very last second. They're going to be wanting to take it up right to the wire, until they know for sure if it's going to be possible. And then I think that means also, that if it does turn out that movies are open a few weeks beforehand, a month beforehand, who knows, that it's probably going to be the only thing to see. So that could also be another advantage as well. But yeah, I guess. Well, then, yeah, but then the other thing is too, like, are people going to be clamoring to get back to theaters? Are people going to be scared to go to theaters? It's a bit unclear. But anyway, yeah. How do you feel about this, Jaden?
Well, looking at Americans' behavior, it seems like they'll be clamoring to get back to theaters.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's a bit irresponsible on the studio's behalf, to be honest. To I don't know. I feel like July's going to come and go, and it's going to be same old of we're still stuck in here, and it feels wrong for the studio to be holding out on this one particular date so hard, because it feels like it's kind of, I don't know, not like kind of providing a false sense of hope. Maybe I don't know. It's odd.
Right,
I don't know.
yeah.
I just feel like they should do the responsible thing and say, yeah, maybe, but most likely delayed. Like acknowledge that it can. Like it just doesn't feel right to be. Yeah, no, we're definitely going to try and push it out here. Like even if it's a shit show everywhere else, if one country's alright, we're going to do it there.
Oh no, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to go in that direction of the false hope thing. But I mean, I kind of disagree in the sense I feel like it's kind of harmless, to be honest. Like they're sticking to July, and obviously if they were to end up releasing it in July, in a situation that doesn't fit it, I don't think they're obviously not going to do that. That doesn't work well for their own interests either, obviously. But that would be irresponsible. But I think at this point, them sticking to it is kind of a harmless thing to do, and it'll either who knows how everything's going to proceed in the coming months,
Yeah.
and all we can all that we can only guess, they can only guess. So, look, it's not, it's harmless to then just end up pushing it anyway. So
I just love that Nolan has such a tight grip on this time slot that they're willing to hold on to it.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, it speaks to their faith in him for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but hey, like I'd lean on the side of a no personally. But again, that's literally all it is speculation. Who knows? Like for all I know, that they might open in a month. Who knows? So yeah. All right. Cool. That's good. I still haven't seen the trailer for Tenet. I've been holding out on it. I just want to go in blind into the movie because I've got no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool.
That's something I used I try to do for some films, but I mean for Christopher Nolan, I'm like, I give me what I can, I just kind of like shove it down my throat.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm as big of a fan of Nolan as you are, Jane, but at the same time, I'm kind of come at it with the same approach, but then have a different like kind of solution, I guess, in a weird way where, I'm never going to skip a trailer for like a Star Wars movie or something, right? Because just that excitement of seeing what comes next. But whereas because Nolan's movies are all original, I don't feel like I'm going to get a lot out of seeing the trailer anyway. Where
Right.
like I feel like I'd just rather experience the whole movie blind. But no, I totally get what you mean for that excitement for sure. All right, next story. Westworld has been renewed for season 4, which surprised me because I don't know, like I thought there was a chance that this third season might end it, but that was only speculation. We never knew that for sure. I thought it would have been cool if we finally get a show that just kind of ends out of nowhere. But anyway, renewed for season 4, and to even more surprise to me personally, the show could last 6 seasons because it's apparently in the what are the names? Jonathan Nolan, Lisa Joy, the showrunners of the show. They have deals that suggest that they're contracted to do 6 seasons of the show. So, obviously that might change. They can always cut it short. HBO can do that if they want to at any point, but at least kind of at this point, they have got kind of rough plans to do 6 seasons. So, hey, that's kind of crazy. I wasn't expecting that personally, but yeah, especially when I know I think premiere ratings for season 3 were a fair bit lower than season 2 as well. So, I mean, they're committed to it, so good for them, I guess.
Reckon they have like an outline for future seasons, or do you think they're just kind of going not necessarily off the cuff? Obviously, a ton of planning has to go into it, but do you think they have an idea for what's going to happen in 4, 5, and 6, or do you think it's just going to be kind of as it comes?
Well, I think they do. I do, but at this point, I don't really know. I trust them, but I don't know what it could be. I feel like the show's kind of like a 4th season I can see. Like I can't. I feel like it lasting 6 and us being only halfway through the entire series now feels kind of strange. But I trust them. I do think they have a plan because I did see an interview with what's his name who plays Teddy on the James Marsden, I think his name is, who plays Teddy. Where he said that they had a 6 season plan before season 1 started airing. So
Right.
if that's true, then yes, but I don't know. I guess that really depends if you take his word for it or not. But I think they do. I think the show, there's a lot going on the show, and I think they either have to have a super complex plan the way it's going, or they're basically high writing it. Either way, it's one or the other, pretty much. So we also have a Hunger Games prequel coming out at some point in the future, a film, because there's a Hunger Games prequel book, right? Is that out? Is that coming out? Do you know, Jen?
I think Collins is still writing it.
Gotcha. Okay, so she's still writing this prequel book.
Yeah.
And then they got a film set for that as well. Okay.
I think the book.
I don't really know what it's about.
The book's going to be interesting because I think Collins has to understand that her audience has matured by about 8 years from when her books were like massive. So I'm interested in whether she's going to try and target that same audience that she did 8 years ago when the films were being released and when the books were at the height of their popularity, and if she's maturing the books for that, or is she still just aiming for that teen young adult type of writing. And I wonder if that's going to have an influence on how the film plays out.
Yeah, possibly. Do you know what the premise of the story is? Because I don't.
I can't recall, because there was ideas that it's going to be about Hamish's Hunger Games, but I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think it's just
Mm.
some time prior to Katniss's time.
It'd be cool if it was about the founding of the 12 colonies or something. The very start.
Yeah, that'd be a good world building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to say, and I think because it's not even Hunger Games isn't even referenced in the title, is it? So I don't think, and I wouldn't want to see them do another Hunger Games. Like I don't actually
It
want to
doesn't
see the
have a
games.
title yet, does it? I just know it as Hunger
I
Games
think it
prequel.
does.
It's like
I think it does have a title.
like songbirds and snakes or something.
That's right. It's something like that. Yeah, a weird name. Yeah. So I guess they're not going back to the games, which is good. I don't really want to see another Hunger Games. But yeah, the colonies could be cool, for sure.
The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Right. Okay, cool. And then who was directing that? Sorry, Jen? I can't remember.
Francis
someone?
Lauren or Lauren Francis? What was it?
Oh, I don't know. But he or she, she. Oh,
yeah,
Jesus. He directed I Am Legend, right?
He directed a few of the previous Hunger Games. I'm not sure if he directed all of them, but he directed the previous few Hunger Games. He directed I Am Legend and Red Sparrow as well, so he's got a good grasp on Jennifer Lawrence as a character, at least as a person. So, Oh wait, no, sorry, this is a prequel. It's not going to involve her. Right, yeah.
No. Next up, Martin Scorsese's still out here shopping for a studio, and I'm kind of the mind that he's kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say insane, but maybe I will say insane. So his new film, Killers of the Flower Moon, right, isn't it?
Yep.
Perfect. And so Paramount rejected him for his $200 million budget proposal, and he's out here looking, whatever, shopping is what I meant to say. Thank you for another studio to kind of help pick him up, whether it's maybe Netflix, or I saw Apple floating around as well, I think.
Yeah.
So I asked a simple question: why does Scorsese need $200 million?
It's Scorsese. Just needs it.
Yeah. I saw some people saying that because it's a period piece, it's an insane amount of money, unless he plans to de-age actors again. Because I think
that's the thing. Yeah.
I think with the two actors currently signed on are DiCaprio and De Niro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So unless he does a similar thing with De Niro again, that could be the only thing that I can imagine such money for. Because I mean, $200 million for a period piece seems insane.
Ridiculous. Well, see, so that's all I meant with the too much money thing. Like the fact that I based on what the premise of the thing seems to be, I've got no idea why you need $200 million unless you want to de-age. And then, because we all know, obviously, The Irishman had a budget, substantial budget because of that. And I just don't want to see a de-aging thing. Like, okay, it was cool for Irishman. Like, it was kind of, like, it was kind of shoddy at times in that movie. It was fine. I don't really want to see it again, to be honest. I don't want to see Scorsese continue to use this. How did you feel about the de-aging in The Irishman, Fitzy?
Yeah, I thought it wasn't too distracting. You kind of got used to it, but
yeah, no, you did get used to it. That's true.
I see what you mean. That you don't want to keep seeing it though, but I don't know if will it all be spent on that. Like, was that what the bulk of the budget was spent on for The Irishman?
Well, I think that's the primary reason it was so expensive. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all. I just think that if he's asking for this money again, it probably indicates he does want to do that again. And I just don't want to see, like, I think it was cool that Scorsese wanted to try something different, for that movie. I don't want to see it become a staple of his new films that he always does de-aging with De Niro. Like, just hire a younger actor. I'm sure there are plenty of young talented actors that would love that spot.
Well, De Niro's character has been identified as William Hale. I haven't read the book, so I don't know who that is. But Leonardo DiCaprio's character is still unknown, so maybe DiCaprio will be a younger person. De Niro will just be an older, and he just needs that money for something else.
Oh, I guess so. But hey, I mean, but my statement applies either way, though.
Yeah.
Like, then don't use Leo. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't like this idea that obviously these actors are very marketable. That's fine, but they choose to use these actors and then just de-age them for their role. Like, I don't know, just get someone who actually fits the role.
Oh no, I'm not saying that he's going to de-age Leo. I'm saying that Leo could be the younger actor instead, and like just no de-aging at all.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's right. Oh, that could work. That could work.
It's just he needs the money for something else.
Right. Yeah.
He's too attached to his boy, De Niro. Wants him in all his movies.
Yeah, I just read this will be his 10th collaboration with De Niro and his 6th, I think, with DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Has he ever worked with both of them at once?
No, I
Don't think so.
don't think so.
Well, he hasn't worked with De Niro since Casino until Irishman, and he only started working with DiCaprio in 2002 with Gangs of New York. No, with with Gangs of New York.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So no.
So there you go. Therefore, this will be the ultimate Scorsese movie by default. All right, some light news to finish off, just kind of continuing the trend of movies getting delayed. Isn't this exciting? Hip hip hooray. The Batman has been pushed to 2021. And Venom 2, which now has the title Venom Let There Be Carnage, which is a pretty bad title. But anyway, that's also moved to 2021. 50, how excited are you for Venom Let There Be Carnage?
Dude, this is my my Black Panther, you know. I actually haven't seen the first Venom still.
No, neither.
Oh yeah, don't even bother. That's my
Yeah,
my
but I
take.
love Tom
yeah.
Hardy, so I'm like, should I just hop on for him?
No, you really shouldn't because he's not even good in it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I like Tom Hardy too, but no, he's not good in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a fun movie, Zach.
I'm gonna watch it out of spite
Oh, it's
now.
really it's really not fun, dude. It's really not. There's nothing fun about it, to be perfectly honest. My favorite part was when Tom Hardy was in a restaurant and he sat in a lobster tank. That was fun. That actually happened. Anyway, so yeah, okay, cool. Movie's delayed. The Batman 2021. So I mean, that's not that surprising. We know they were in the middle of shooting. So yeah, we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that one, but that's fine. Take all the time you need, Matt Reeves.
Do you want to comment on the fact, like, I saw that Mandalorian season 3 is already being like,
Oh yeah,
written
yeah,
or
yeah.
production, like it's like, I think 5 years, already got some is already, on his way with something for season 3, even though season 2 hasn't even aired yet.
Yeah, I had it that yeah, Mandalorian season 3. John Favreau's in the middle of writing it now. Yeah, so cool. All right, what have we been watching recently? Jaden, you can start us off.
What have I been watching? I watched The Others, which is a 2001 film starring Nicole Kidman. Psychological horror, pretty good. It's often like I see it highly regarded, often as one, like, the modern day classics. So,
Oh yeah.
it was a good watch. Wasn't brilliant, but still pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
I finished Silent Until I Die season 2, that was really really good. I think that's a show you can
That was the
watch.
football one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
even if you're not a fan of football, I think it's really great to watch because
Mm.
season 1 explores it a fair bit, but season 2 delves further into like the business of like owning and running a club, and like it's really fascinating just like seeing like how it is run, because it is a business, and like just seeing like the behind the scenes working of that is really cool. I watched The Office UK, which was really great. Watched VHS, which is also one of those horror films that you're supposed to have to watch, but kind of average. It's
Oh
interesting
yeah.
because it combines the anthology horror and the found footage horror into one film, which is a cool concept. But the problem is that it doesn't, like, some of the stories. I think there's 6 different stories. Like, only like 2 of them are actually good. 3 of them are decent. One of them's really poor.
Right.
I watched Mississippi Grind with your boy Ben Mendelsohn and Ryan Reynolds. Fun gambling movie with a good, it's a good examination of like the effects of gambling. I think, like, ultimately, kind of, it still fantasizes it and idealizes it a bit, but you have a look at through Ben Mendelsohn's character, you kind of see the detrimental effects of it. So that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, last night we all watched The Phantom Menace.
Oh, did
We
we?
did. That was fun.
I don't think you really need when you mentioned The Phantom Menace. I don't think you really need to say anything more. I mean, people just know
Nah,
it's a masterpiece and just leave it
of
at that.
course. Yeah, naturally. How about you, Fitzy?
I saw Shame at the start of the week. I rewatched Shame with Michael Fassbender's in that. What's her name? Carey Mulligan. And it's just it's really well shot and scored. But it's about this Fassbender, he's basically addicted to he's addicted to sex and pornography and all that. And basically, it's just about his sister comes over to stay in his apartment and just follows him in that time. It's kind of a very psychologically heavy drama, so I recommend that.
Cool.
Don't watch with your parents. And I saw 1917 for the first
Awesome.
time. Yeah, I thought, I don't know, it was definitely, as I said in my Letterboxd review, it was
Shout out.
definitely a technical feat, but nothing, everything was good in the movie, but nothing really amazed me. But I could see that there were great elements. I just didn't really connect with it, and I think I regret not seeing it at the theaters because I thought that definitely made me like the movie more. Would have been a better experience. But I know you. Do you guys like the movie?
Oh, I love it. I think
Yeah,
it's great.
same.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that hurt it for me was the fact that it was marketed as one shot, and obviously that's bullshit. It's not one shot. It's all just edited to look like one shot. But then at about the halfway point or a bit further on, how it cuts to black, and then he wakes up later. It's not one shot, mate. It's not even edited. I mean, that annoyed
Yeah.
me. But I mean, minor thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that more than anything, that's just an issue with the marketing,
Yeah.
So, what did you guys kind of get from the movie? Did you feel it was epic or emotional?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just felt like the whole journey and the ending, it's terrific, and it really, we can all, we all talk about, and we have talked about, in the modern world, the horrors of war, and obviously, to the end of time, obviously in World War I, just how horrific it all was. You can say it all day, and you can read books about it all day, and you can look at pictures, watch other movies about it all day, but this movie did something really special for me where it managed to highlight exactly, or exactly, I doubt it wasn't exactly like being put in it, obviously, but it it, it did a great job at highlighting what that experience must have felt like, or at least they did a really good job at conveying the emotions that they intended to, without ever feeling ham-fisted. The camera's always moving, so nothing lingers. There's no there's no lingering shots on terrible wounds and horrific body parts, and like, war's bad, guys, remember, like,
Yeah, that's
it
what
was just
Spielberg relies on because he's shit.
yeah, well, that kind of thing. It's just what it left me with a sense of, dude, this shit sucks. The pain, um and then the resolution was awesome. It left me with such a great feeling of relief, and it managed to give me all those feelings, all through only its direction and nothing else. No, there's no bullshit in the movie, really, is all I'm saying. And the journey of the characters, and yeah, no, everything. I love the ending so much. I love, I won't spoil it, but the last shot's awesome, and it was something that when the credits hit, it just left me with that feeling that I think they nailed exactly what they were going for.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay. I feel like the trailer ruined it a bit though, because
definitely.
the fact that you saw them all running out in the field and the
Oh,
the
dude.
plane coming into the building, that really sucked that it was kind of ruined. But
Yeah, but that's how they had to market it for, a
They
wider
have no
audience.
choice.
yeah,
Like
for
that.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it is a shame. Yeah, dude. That when I was watching it, like, I enjoyed the whole movie. For me, like, the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes will really stand out. I love the first 15 minutes, but everything, that one shot, and the exact shot you're talking about with everyone running out, or the extras, it just completely blew me away when I was watching it. It was just like it was one of the most epic things I think I've ever seen in my life. It was just, it was unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just awesome. And the score then too was killer.
I love the Beneath the 60 segment at the start.
Oh, dude, I couldn't tell you what that was.
You know when they're heading through no man's land and they get to the Germans' trenches and they go inside.
Underground.
Yeah, they go underground, and then the rat steps on the wire and everything blows up and shit.
Yeah.
In Beneath Hill 60.
No, in 1917. But
What'd you say? What'd you say? Beneath Hill 60? What do you mean?
I'm saying it's like I was making a joke about it being like a Beneath Hill 60 moment. I apologize.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was literally trying to picture Beneath Hill 60. Yes. No, I know the rat. The rat. No, that was a cool
Tiffin's in
sequence
the
going.
background.
Yeah. God damn it. Yeah. No. No. I agree with you 100%. That was cool. Yeah. Anything else, Fitzy? No.
No. Oh, I did. This isn't really related to what I watched, but I did change my ratings a little bit for our dedicated
Oh
listeners.
God.
Uh,
Oh God.
I changed. I think I changed the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly to 4.5 out of 5 because I just changed some of my 5s to 4.5 just because I thought the ones that remain are kind of far above them. But yeah, that's all.
All right. Cool beans. I watched Better Call Saul. We had the finale this week, so this is the last week I'll mention it. And the season finale was really interesting because it was kind of underwhelming, but in a surprising way, where the episode didn't really feel like a season finale. Like I think literally every other single season finale that the show's ever done has been felt more like a conclusion to a season, whereas this really didn't. This could have been like an episode in the middle of the season, but it wasn't. It was the season finale, and I don't know, it was a really great episode. Really enjoyed it, and the outcome surprised me. I was not expecting it to go the way it did, and yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by it in that way. But it just didn't quite have the kind of gravitas of a finale. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, I've got to wait till bloody 2021 now, so isn't that exciting? And what else we got? Westworld. Amazing episode. Absolutely loved it. I feel like these episodes are just, I don't know, I'm so into it. And there are specific aspects of this last episode that I love. We've only got 2 left, so that's exciting. And I've got Clone Wars here from last night.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Just.
I,
Oh yeah, you didn't mention that, Jane. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Just. I think one of the best episodes the show's ever done. Absolutely couldn't speak highly enough of it.
I
Um,
started the Clone Wars as well. Forgot to mention that.
You'll be one of us one day, Fitzy. You'll get there.
Yeah. I think.
Watch him finish and just say it's shit.
Oh my God. Oh yeah, I was for movie though. I watched Bohemian Rhapsody this week, and I'm sorry, the hate on this movie is kind of too strong for me. Like I feel like I've seen a lot of hate, and the movie's really good. I really liked it.
Hey,
so, yeah. Have you guys?
I've only ever heard praise for it. Where the fuck's this hate coming from?
Oh really? It's got a pretty low score on Letterboxd. I've kind of heard a bit of hate.
To be fair, I haven't seen it, so I don't really know. So I haven't really been too involved with it. But like, whenever I hear like family or friends talk about it, it's just nothing but it's glorious.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's like general audiences love it, and like kind of if you look on Letterboxd or Twitter, it's like everyone hates it.
Yeah.
Very interesting, but yeah.
It's actually a movie that kind of exemplifies that perfectly. Actually, that kind of divide, hardcore social media film lovers and just general audiences. But I side with general audiences on this one. I think the movie's really good. It's it's tropey for sure, no doubt about it. I think that's what mainly holds it back from being great. But no, I really liked it, and some of its sequences are pretty damn dope.
Are you a Queen fan though, like going into it, or are you just like as a?
I'm not a hardcore Queen fan, but I definitely like Queen's music. Yeah.
So would being like super tied up in them, would that affect your viewing as well or not? Do you reckon?
Maybe. I don't know. Honestly, I think it could honestly go either way. If you're a diehard Queen fan, maybe you'd like it way more, or maybe you'd like it way less, because I know the film does take liberties in its story. Maybe you'd hate that. Or maybe if you loved Queen so much, you'd just, fall in love with the music sequences. I don't know. I could see it kind of going either way for a hardcore Queen fan, honestly. Let's get into our listener-submitted questions. Thank you. Every goddamn week I feel like I do that. Listeners submitted answers from last week's question is what I meant to say. Last week's question was, what is your favourite Pixar movie and why? And, before I even get to that, Paul wrote into us with a separate comment and said, the ending of No Country for Old Men, going back to last week's movie, is disappointing. I was barracking for Moss to get away with the loot. I completely agree with you.
Okay.
God damn, I was pushing for Josh Brolin there, man. We all know it. We all know it. All right. So thank you for writing about No Country for Old Men. But anyway, Paul also wrote in answering the question. He said, gold medal Pixar movie has to be Monsters, Inc. Pixar broke ground with Toy Story, Woody and Buzz, but really hit their straps with Monsters, Inc. with Mike and Sully. Special mention to Brave.
Okay, Monsters, Inc. Okay.
Hell yeah, that's a great choice in my opinion. I love Monsters, Inc.
Yeah.
But also the special mention to Brave is interesting. I can't even really remember Brave. I don't know if I really know that movie at all.
I really appreciate Brave because I think I don't know, I think it's a really good story. Like, I don't know, it feels like a bit of a different story because that Pixar would usually take on, and I think it's done really well. But I think most people kind of neglect it just because it doesn't have the same I don't know. I feel like people don't connect it with, like, emotionally connect with the same that they did with like early Pixar, so it's kind of forgotten. But I still think personally, I think that's really, really good.
Yeah, I want to rewatch it because honestly, I've seen it once, don't remember a thing about it other than it's like Scottish and shit. That's really all I remember about it. So I want to check that out for sure. All right, cool. Thank you for writing in, Paul. Henry wrote into us and said, my absolute favourite Pixar movie is Ratatouille, mostly because of its smaller scale to other Pixar films, which allows it to have... I'll be able to read one day. Which allows it to have a slower but more comfortable pace to develop the characters and setting. Also, it's just one of those films that leaves you with a bit of a warm and happy feeling. I love films that leave you with a bit of a warm and happy feeling, I agree. I don't know, I'm not as big a fan of Ratatouille. I think it's decent, but yeah, I don't know.
I love I recently saw a poem in Ratatouille where it's like Remy is is the chef's name Remy, right? I can't recall.
Yeah.
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 Is like he doesn't actually understand, the rat at all. So like he just has to like accept the fact that, this rat's on his head helping him cook, and like, because usually like in an animated film there'll be this communication between the two because they're special or whatever, but in this there's absolutely no connection, and he just has to accept the fact that this is happening.
Yeah. Well, hang on. No, sorry. Remy's the rat, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Is Remy the rat? Oh, sorry. What's the chef's name? I forget.
Couldn't tell you.
Linguini.
Linguini, that's it. Good call.
Yeah.
Are you a Ratatouille fan then, Fitzy?
No, I just looked up the thing.
Oh, okay. I thought you're like a diehard Ratatouille fan. They're ready to answer that. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's kind of a more unique choice. I don't really know. I've seen anyone else kind of have that as a standout favourite, but there you go. Good choice, Henry. I don't know.
I think it's one of the better ones, but top half,
Luke wrote into us and said, favourite Pixar film is Up. Interesting concept for a film, interesting and complex character arcs. The soundtrack is good also, especially the Carl and Ellie piano theme. Yes, very much so, which is littered throughout the film. Also have to give a shout out to Bao. If you don't remember it, please look it up. And I would advise the audience, don't look it up.
No.
Please don't.
I hate it.
Bao is one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in my life, to be perfectly honest.
Oh my god. Yeah. Why does that exist?
Yes. It's honestly, I would call it Pixar's, first and definitely perfect foray into horror.
It's like anti-Pixar.
It really is. Oh, it was something. But anyway, thanks for shouting out Bear, Luke, and giving me those nightmares again. But no, Up, I love Up. Up's an awesome movie. I agree with that choice for sure. I get what you mean. But how about you guys? What are your favourite Pixar movies?
I have to agree with Spooky on this one. I think Up is just brilliant. I think like of Pixar films, that's the one I connected with most. Like, I know Toy Story is like what a lot of people favor. We go to all the Incredibles, but like Up is the one that for some reason I latched onto, and it's the one that is like still to today persists as one of my favorite. And I think I agree with like everything that Spooky says. Really, I think it's just a great story, great characters, great everything about it. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with Up.
Awesome, I agree. How about you, Fitzy?
Finding Nemo for sure.
Good choice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really, really great. It's kind of, I don't know. I think everyone our age kind of has like one they connect with it with their childhood a bit, and that's the one I kind of have. That's probably the one I watched most as a kid, and yeah, it's very funny and great premise, great story. It's set in Australia, of course, and
Yes.
Sydney. So yeah, I love Finding Nemo.
I feel like, yeah, our age group kind of perfectly aligns with the Pixar group of films that kind of released between 2003 and 2000, I don't know, like 7 or 8 or so. And God, there were some bangers in that time for sure. I think all of them we mentioned so far. I think Ratatouille, Monsters Inc., Up,
Hmm.
or Up might be a bit later, I don't know. But Nemo,
Yeah.
yeah, all those in that time period, absolutely. And of course, my choice, The Incredibles, also fits in that time period. The Incredibles
Yeah.
is a goddamn almost perfect movie. I don't know. I would have to like watch it again with the most critical eye to get to fault it. I love it so much, and I always will. So there you go, The Incredibles. Thank you, Pixar, for making amazing movies.
I love how varied the responses can be with these, with the classic Pixar movies.
Definitely,
Everyone's got their
yeah.
favorite.
There's no obvious choice.
Yeah.
Speaking of Pixar, I know Onward just came to Disney Plus yesterday. I'm definitely going to watch that soon. Anyway, Pixar's always a good note to end off on. Thank you very much for watching this week's edition of Cinema Effect. Cinema Effect. I'm breaking down,
Apparently
dude.
the name of the
We
podcast.
appreciate. No, exactly. We appreciate your time. Fitzy, what are we watching next week, and where can people watch it if they choose to?
We are watching 8.5 by Federico Fellini, and you can watch it on Stan or rent it. Apparently, it's only $2 on YouTube. So yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Cough up some change. Watch 8.5 with us. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, this week's question is, what is your favourite sequel to a film and why? Make sure you submit those in the comments. We'll read them next week. But other than that, thank you very much for tuning into the show. Like I mentioned, Jane, Fitzy, thanks for your time this week.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and goodbye.